The WBC just released their latest rankings, and it appears as though they're shaping up to order Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder as a final eliminator. Why do I say this? Well, Wilder is ranked number 1, Andy Ruiz, who was previously ranked number 2, has been dropped down to number 5, and AJ has been moved up one spot to replace him. Below that are Arslanbek Makhmudov and Frank Sanchez at 3 and 4. The WBC recently indicated that they'll be ordering a new final eliminator at their convention in November, and since Wilder and AJ are number 1 and number 2, it seems at the moment that they will be the participants. Now, personally, I don't like it. Firstly, the WBC already ordered a final eliminator between Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz at the start of this year. Normally, in these situations, the two parties get 30 days to negotiate, and if they can't come to terms, the sanctioning body sets the purse split and orders a purse bid. That's the standard procedure for final eliminators. But the WBC didn't do that in this case. There was no purse bid for Wilder Ruiz, presumably because Al Heyman elbowed Mauricio Sullivan in the ribs and insisted there wouldn't be one. He represents both fighters and wouldn't want the fight being shopped out on the open market, potentially ending up on ESPN or DAZN. So there was no purse bid. Instead, there was 6 to 7 months of on-off negotiations which wasted everyone's time and denied other contenders an opportunity of their own. Many of the so-called rules in the WBC rule book have clauses attached which allow the WBC to observe or ignore them at their own discretion, which means they're not actually rules at all. They're nothing more than guidelines. So this is what allows them to act in this way. In my view, Joshua versus Wilder should not be a final eliminator. Joshua lost 2 of his last 4 fights, and Wilder has lost 2 of his last 3 fights. They're both coming off wins over the same washed-up Robert Helenius. Neither one of them has done anything of late to justify being ranked so high. They've both had their chance at glory and come up short. I think it's time for some new blood to be given the opportunity. Frank Sanchez versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. That's the fight that should be ordered as a final eliminator, all things being fair. Now, you could argue that neither of them have beaten anyone great lately either, but at least they're both unbeaten. I don't like this perpetual recycling of tired old champions. It's been going on for years in boxing. They used to do it back in the days with Zab Judah and Paulie Malignaggi. You guys remember that? There was a point where it seemed like whenever there was a newly crowned champion at 140 or 147, their first defense would always be against Zab Judah or Paulie Malignaggi. Again, with younger, fresher, more able fighters being denied the opportunity. So yeah, I don't like it. And just to clarify, I've got no issue with Joshua versus Wilder as a standalone fight. I just don't like it as a final eliminator. But it seems like that's what we're gonna get, so it is what it is. If you want to draw some positives from it, you could say that this provides more impetus for that fight to get made because the WBC can put a time limit on it and order a purse bid. If one of the guys refuses to participate, they'll lose their position in the rankings. Although I'm not sure AJ really cares about rankings because the champions will be happy to give him a title shot regardless of where he's ranked due to his commercial value. In any event, if AJ beats Wilder, he would then be mandatory for Tyson Fury, which many people would see as a positive. Although there are some potential complications with that as well. The standard purse split for a WBC mandatory is 30%. Would AJ be willing to take such a small percentage, given the fact that Fury offered him 40% just last year, especially coming off the back of a victory over Wilder? And if Wilder were to beat AJ, no one wants to see Fury Wilder fall. That franchise has been done to death at this point. It's like Fast and Furious. Anyway, to sum up, I'd much prefer Sanchez versus Makhmudov as a WBC final eliminator. Joshua versus Wilder should not be afforded that status, in my view. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section.